Before the video starts, make sure to watch the previous part to understand this part. Previous part link in the description. Let's begin. Only Saffron of all the revolutionary heroes did not make any friendly statement towards Ain's takeover since he was the one who was closest to Jexengord since the start. Sihan recalls how it's always been like that and it felt more like Saffron was always controlling Jexengord, and obviously is suspicious about Jexengord stepping down because he knows Jexengord well. Sihan worries if Saffron would make a move and whether they should aim towards him then Karen first. But Keltrin assures him that there's nothing to worry about. He explains how all other kingdoms support this, which includes the fact that the strongest kingdom, the Lilstein kingdom, is in support of Jexengord's dethroning. Since Saffron and Lilstein are both Magians and have always been competitive, any wrong move by Saffron would put him and his kingdom on the vulnerable end, so he'll definitely be cautious about acting rashly. Keltrin suggests him not to worry and focus on moving towards Anasia's kingdom while he keeps everything prepared for them. Sihan smiles, casually agreeing to Keltrin and counting on him with this stuff. As the delegation travels towards the Anasia's kingdom, Sihan is asked by another hire if he's comfortable riding a horse, to which he responds in affirmative. On the other hand, Alita seems to be having a hard time riding a horse, and even though Sihan tries to tell her to rest it, she really seems to want to learn riding a horse. Sihan mentions how Dina is from a noble family and Xion is a knight, so they know how to ride a horse, and even though Alita is from a noble family, hers has fallen. She decides to try and get a hold on horse riding till they reach Anasia's. At the camping site for the night, Sihan feels good on how they have a little authority this time and all of their tasks are being done for them by other people. Xion wonders on why they have to sleep in the wild when they are a proper delegation and not on some mercenary mission, but Dina interjects, clearing that their country is not developed enough to provide for leisure like that and most of the area is mountainous, so there's no aid around. She mentions how there used to be a government around, but during the revolutionary era, the bridge at the gorge was destroyed and never repaired, so the only route left is the longer route. She wonders dejectedly on how good their trade would have been with Anasius if the bridge hadn't fallen, reminding everyone how she's a trade merchant's daughter. Alita wonders how a bridge connecting mountains must be built very strong, so how could it be broken, only to notice Sihan's nervous look. She exclaims if he did it, to which the savior puts half the blame on Jexengord, mentioning how this wasn't much of a thought during the fights back then. He now realizes that people suffer from such actions, so he needs to be careful about not harming ordinary people in any way. Sihan exclaims on what they should do since they are free and the soldiers are working, so Xion announces that he'll go and help the soldiers, while Alita decides to go train at her horse riding, requesting Sihan to take care of Dina. An overexcited Dina takes out her sword with a smile and charges at Sihan as if wanting to do that since long, only for Sihan to defend himself via a small wooden branch in his hand with a bored expression. He keeps dodging, telling her that her spirit is appreciable, but overenthusiasm is not a good option when fighting. She sees an opening and tries to attack, only to get defeated by Sihan. She praises him in little pain while he tells her that being overexcited or angry and letting the rage take control of body is never better for one's vision and mind and leads to bad decisions in battle. He further adds on how she should not be swinging her sword mindlessly even when distracted, making her question if that means she shouldn't take shortcuts, so he tells her to not use her skills recklessly in trying to improve, making her question so she should take shortcuts. Not understanding Dina, he tries to assume that she is understanding him and feels like moving on with the situation. She expresses gratitude on his words and casually asks Jin, her overexcited stay, whether he also built his foundation the same way before he became the sword hire for mercenary king. These words take Sihan to a rather traumatic flashback. A young tortured Sihan is seen to be trying to fight a big bulky man who is hitting him brutally and bullying him, asking him to learn to use sword correctly. He looks down on Sihan, telling him he's only there cause they needed his friend, Lilstein, so he should also prove to be of some use rather than being so useless. Lilstein appears from behind, questioning the situation, but the guy is unbothered and considers this the right way to teach swordsmanship, or the person simply dies while getting beaten up when not learning. He threatens Sihan the same way and walks off. Lilstein inquires if Sihan's okay, to which a crying Sihan starts ranting to his friend on how he was forcefully thrown into that world 3 months back, and it's really unfair what's happening to him. Lilstein tries to encourage him that misfortune happens to anyone, but he should live on through this irrationality of life and go back home alive rather than dying in a place he's foreign to. He encourages Seo that they will indeed survive. Seo is brought back to reality by Dina, who practiced all he told her to, so he dismisses her off. He recalls how the first person to treat him swordsmanship was a thug, but more than teaching him that, he taught him violence and how easy it is to kill people. He in fact killed that thug, but he also got the determination needed to survive in the hellhole called Terranor. Also, quick reminder as we are going through the recap, if you are new to the channel, around 52% of viewers are not already subscribed, and if that's you and you want to guarantee you're always up to date with all good content like this, so feel free to hit that subscribe button and join us on the road to 1 million subs. And if you enjoy the video or if you found it interesting, let me know by dropping a like and comment on it as well, would be seriously appreciated. Let's continue. The camps are set neatly, which pleases Seo, while Alita and Seo joke about the weather getting bad and monsters appearing like their last expedition. The three share a laugh at this while Donna praises the company and the beef stew. The latter praise halts the three, leaving Dina all confused. Seo exclaims about the stew not being good while Alita calls Dina pure, someone who hasn't tried Zeon's cooking yet. They both rant about the food being too bland as compared to Zeon's food and their taste expectations getting higher due to being accustomed to his food. They both sigh and call Zeon bad for spoiling them while Zeon tries to have his stew. Poor Donna still sits there baffled. During the nighttime, the three of them sneak out to a stranded place where no one would find them to train. Seo suggests the two to learn new techniques. He tells Alita to learn Lavina's stealth technique, while Zeon should learn Jexengord's mountain breaking art and explosive art. Alita shares her concern on how this will be okay, since Seo is bad at explaining due to being from Earth. Seo replies of having it all planned. His plan being showing them the techniques every time they do it wrong to help them learn. Alita is not very impressed with this idea, but Zeon is enthusiastic about learning from Seo. Alita then mentions another concern, that these techniques are unique to the revolutionary heroes, so won't it be suspicious if anybody sees them using these techniques. Seo seems to have this sorted in his head and tells them confidently to just say they learn it from some random elder. Once again, Alita is not impressed by Seon's idea, but Seo explains that it was common back then for masters turning their backs against empires to teach special skills to random youngsters in hopes of saving the future, and this is how Jexengord learned his techniques. Seo then encourages them to not focus on this, but focus on making the techniques suitable for them and start working. A while into the training, Seo seems to be overly exhausted since he's been demonstrating the techniques to them every time they got stuck, which lead to him getting tired and hungry. This alarms Zeon, who suggests hunting for Seo and make a late-night snack. Seo tries to make sense to Zeon that they should focus on training and that he's not going to find meat this easily around, but before he could finish, Zeon is back with 2 rabbits in his hand. The two stare at Zeon with their mouths hung open, questioning how he got them so fast. Zeon happily shares that he's lucky at hunting and it's like universe itself sends him prey to hunt whenever he's hungry. Seo is trying to make sense of this luck of Zeon when something clicks in his head and he asks Zeon to try and hunt right in this place. An unaware Zeon happily agrees and looks around. That's when Seo notices his aura, as if there's a combative threat around him, and a squirrel suddenly appears in Zeon's vicinity. Seo stands there shocked, trying to understand the situation. He's never seen sword hires with such a technique, so he asked Zeon where he learned it from, only for Zeon to be confused. It clicks to Seo that Zeon has not been able to awaken his true abilities, and it wasn't pure talent and luck that got him to the level of a knight, but his abilities that he is unaware of. He analyzes Zeon's accuracy and sensual presence, while Zeon is more focused on tearing down the rabbit to get Seo find. That's when Seo exclaims that he was wrong to teach him the explosive or mountain breaking art. In reality, he should be learning the Tyrant King art. Zeon panics at this since it's one of Seon's 4 exclusive techniques, but Seo reminds him bored that it was also actually from an old man. Zeon reluctantly agrees, questioning if he'll be able to learn that. Seo thinks of that technique actually being complex and intricate, but Zeon's talent is worth having him go against one of those revolutionary heroes. He finally understands that Zeon is not the power type of person, but the technical type. He only ever used it in household chores like cleaning and cooking. The next day, the 3 of them are heavily dozed off in the carriage while the old leader, who only offered Seo in courtesy the day before, rides a horse sadly. Dina is confused on what made the three so tired from last night, but her focus is diverted when she witnessed the capital of Anatius, Lysaterium. The delegation enters the palace to greet the queen. They are all welcomed gracefully while Seo observed the surrounding to see a few familiar faces from 10 years back. The queen gracefully enters the place, leaving everyone all stunned at her beauty. Even Alita and Zeon can't fathom that this person is one of the 7 revolutionary heroes. Alita jokes to Zeon of hearing she's older than 30 but looking younger than him, who's in his 20s. Mid-banter, they both notice Seo. He stands there with grim expressions, not being able to recognize the woman in front of her. Later in their restrooms, Alita and Zeon inquire of what he meant about his statement. They ask if it wasn't Karen. Confused himself, he repeats of that person not being Karen. Alita questions if she looked different, but that's not what has been troubling Seo. It's the fact that she looks exactly the same, but it feels different, like she is not the same person from the inside. Seo feels even more troubled in trying to explain what he means, but he just cannot logically explain it to the two. Alita reasons that she might have changed over the span of 10 years, and Zeon suggests him to observe closely again the next day, since there's a party being hosted for the delegation. As if right on time, Dina enthusiastically barges through the door holding dresses for all of them. Traditional dresses for the Gallon race were made for the whole delegation from Leightonburg, so she pushes everyone to try them all in case they need to be altered. Alita dresses up, leaving Dina all hard eyes for her, while Seo mentions never seeing traditional dresses before. Zeon tells him that other cultures used to be ignored during the Berserk Empire's time, but after that some of the cultures were revived during the peaceful times. Seo notices Alita, who gets nervous thinking she looks weird, but he tells her it looks fine. This pisses Dina off since he did not praise Alita well, but Seo remains unbothered. He wishes to take the dress off, feeling uncomfortable due to the multiple layers of the clothing, but Dina suggests he should keep wearing it to get comfortable since the party includes a ball and he'll need the comfort to dance in these clothes. The mention of a ball stills Seo, while Alita, Dina, and Zeon talk casually about how it's been a while since they attended one, which makes him even more anxious. He exclaims towards Zeon on knowing how to dance, but all knights do know how to dance. Dina takes a pause with bored expressions, questioning if Seo doesn't know how to dance, leaving the latter extremely embarrassed and flustered while the three observe him amused. To cover for his embarrassment, Seo comes up with an even more embarrassing statement of calling facing the enemy with sword as sword dancing. But the very next moment, Seo gets into extreme panic mode since he didn't consider the possibility of there being a ball, and he definitely needs to dance in order to approach Karen during the party. Alita smiles at Seo and lightly laughs on finally having something that Seo can't do. To relieve him, she suggests teaching him how to dance. She slowly guides him into steps towards dancing, but the cute moment is broken when during twirling her, Seo moves on to twist her wrist behind her to overpower her, leaving everyone shocked. Dina shouts at Seo for doing so, while Seo is himself surprised at what he did. It turns out an instinctive act due to his habit of being in battles and fights. This makes him worry about the party the next day. A lavish party is hosted for the delegation. Zeon noticed unique kinds of foods that he hasn't seen before and wonders what that is when the person in front of him tells him that it's their traditional food, goris. Seo tastes it, reminding him of the taste of japchae, the Korean food. Zeon fondly offers trying to recreate the food if Seo likes it. Seo wonders when Karen would come to the party. Dina and Alita stand in the crowd with total opposite expressions. While Dina is happy and excited, Alita stands cautious and nervous. Dina tries to calm her, but Alita has a habit of being cautious around her surroundings, so is not able to help it. They are suddenly interrupted by a noble who turns out to be Dina's cousin, Bright, from the Ameth family. They both greet each other when a knight appears behind Bright. Bright introduces him as Duran, their guard knight. Subscribe to watch more videos like these, turn on notifications, and leave a like and comment to help the channel out. Thank you for watching and see you on the next part.